I'm Bob Grimm.
And I'm Diana Morgan.
Tonight on the Daily News, there's trouble aboard the space shuttle.
And over 5,000 sailors return home to Norfolk.
Those stories and more next on the Daily News. Good evening, everyone. Things started out just fine for the space shuttle this morning, but a problem developed this afternoon that will force the mission to be shortened. One of the fuel cells aboard the Columbia is broken. And while that doesn't threaten the life of the crew, NASA has decided to shorten the flight from 5 days to 2 and bring the shuttle back Saturday afternoon. Earlier this morning, when things were going well, spirits were pretty high at the NASA Langley Research Center, where some of the shuttle's experiments were developed. Don Roberts has more.
Another good crowd was on hand to watch and wait for this moment.
We have go for main engine start. We have main engine start. 3, 2, 1. We have ignition. We have ignition.
Engineering technician Danny Vigliotti.
It's a real good feeling to see it go this time after the disappointment last week, and to see it go past the 31 seconds. It was really great.
2 of the 5 experiments on board the shuttle are from NASA Langley, as well as the heat shielding tiles. But Assistant Systems Engineer Ralph Marocca watched the reruns of the liftoff closely to check the performance of new shock-absorbing water bags around the base of the solid rocket motors.
I didn't see anything, apparently. There was a little bit of debris right at the end there. But it didn't look like any of those bags blew up into the air.
The space shuttle now will return on Saturday. At NASA Langley Research Center in Hampton, Don Roberts, The Daily News.
Several Navy ships returned from the Indian Ocean today, bringing home nearly 5,500 sailors who spent the past 7 months at sea. The first to arrive was the guided missile destroyer Preble. The Preble is an escort ship for the aircraft carrier America. Her other escort, the California, is scheduled to return to Norfolk November 20th because it's taking a different route home. Just before the Preble tied up at the pier, the carrier America was just beginning to make its way across the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel. Kathy Mitke flew out to the ship to travel the last few miles with the crew. She has a report on the carrier's voyage to all 4 hemispheres.
As the carrier America steamed back into port after 7 months patrolling the Indian Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea, some last-minute cargo was being flown off the decks, and the crew was assembling for its homecoming. Unquestionably, one of the highlights of this 7-month cruise was a trip through the Suez Canal.
It was the first transit since 1967 of any of the super carriers, and America just happened to be the first one to go through.
The Mediterranean shortcut gives the Navy so much flexibility that defense officials have been able to reduce that 2-carrier commitment in the Indian Ocean on the other side of the Suez Canal.
There are certainly some other areas of the world that right now have our attention as well, including the Mediterranean.
While the crew was at sea, it got a raise from Congress. Good news for a crew that had worked 12-hour days, 7 days a week.
They could have done it with less pay, but it's certainly nice for them to realize that they're being paid at a scale that's a bit more generous.
The America was also in the Indian Ocean when those 2 Libyan planes were shot down by Nimitz-based fighters. Lieutenant Junior Grade Chris Peacock says the crew followed the story as closely as it could.
I think if America had been in the same position that Nimitz had, she would have reacted the same way.
As the flat top approached the pier, 3rd Class Petty Officer Gary Underwood scanned the crowd for his wife.
You don't really count the days, you don't count the hours, it just goes.
To find out how 7 months goes for the loved ones of these sailors, Terry Zahn spent the morning with their families.
I'm Terry Zahn, Pierside. There have been homecomings ever since men first went down to the sea in ships. But don't tell these people their old hat. When a loved one's aboard, they're special.
We're from Newport Beach, California, and we're waiting for our son Matthew.
Waiting for Michael Fields, and I'm from Decatur, Georgia.
Fernando Lorendi, and we're from New York.
We're waiting for Clarence Evercara. He's an E5, and I'm from Clarksdale, Mississippi. All right, welcome home, USS America!
We've been traveling far.
Our son and our brother hunting. We haven't seen him since he left in April, and I'm going to cry.
They're coming to America.
There's only one thing that could have made America's homecoming any more joyous, if it had come in July. At Pier 12, Terry Zahn, the Daily News.
Coming up, a new candidate for a seat in the Senate.
And Penny Williams continues the tough battle to stop smoking. Well, you can name Howard Copeland as one of the candidates who want to fill the unexpired term of State Senator Joe Fitzpatrick, who was just elected Norfolk City Treasurer. Mike Deason has a report on Copeland's formal announcement.
I have decided to seek the seat that will soon be vacated in the Virginia Senate by Senator Joseph Fitzpatrick.
Lame duck delegate Howard Copeland says he made that decision after consulting political and business leaders. He says he'll base his campaign on 3 issues: direct election of the mayors of Norfolk and Virginia Beach, opposition to a sales tax on gasoline, and reform of the state's conflict of interest laws. Copeland, who became the odd man out when Norfolk lost 2 of its 7 seats in the House because of reapportionment, will take on another lame duck delegate, Evelyn Haley, who chose not to run for re-election and instead managed the campaign of the 5 incumbents who were just re-elected to the House. Naturally, Haley has the full backing of the 5, but Copeland says that could be good news for him.
And that will probably assist me with those who did not appreciate the way the last campaign was run.
Virginia Beach Councilwoman Myra Obendorf, who just missed winning a Senate seat in 1979, is the only other announced candidate, and Copeland acknowledges that both he and Obendorf could draw from the same voters. However, Copeland says he's polled a cross-section of the voters who might support either candidate.
And the large, vast majority appear to be supporting me.
Mike Deason, The Daily News.
The crime of rape is an increasing problem in the city of Norfolk. The number of reported rapes has jumped 66% over the same period last year. While most of the attackers have been caught, police are still looking for one man thought to have assaulted 4 teenage girls in the Norview area. Ava Hurdle reports.
These latest rape incidents have taken place in wooded areas of residential streets in Norview between October 30th and November 5th. Most happened during early morning hours as children walked to school or the bus stop. But one incident occurred as a Norview junior high student left a night football game. According to police, the victims aged 13 to 15 were abducted at knife point. Based on descriptions supplied by the teenagers, police have attributed the rapes to the same man and released this composite drawing of the suspect. There have been 188 rapes so far this year in Norfolk, which already surpasses the reported incidents for last year.
We feel we really do not have a higher increase this year in the number of rapes. We just have more people reporting it. For many years, rape was classed as taboo among people. The people were embarrassed to talk about it. They were afraid they would be subjected to trial themselves. And through social service and Tidewater Rape Information Service and through the police department, we've tried to swing it around that to make the rape victim not on trial, to put the suspect back on trial.
No arrest has been made by the sexual assault unit in connection with the rapes of the teenage students, but police ask anyone with information to call the Youth Bureau. Police say prevention of such rape incidents can be tied to the old adage, there is safety in numbers. Authorities are asking parents to make sure their school children don't walk alone, but travel in groups as they go to and from school. In Norfolk, Ava Hurdle, The Daily News.
With the latest round of budget cuts, the state's Medicaid program is running into trouble. In fact, state officials say they'll have to drop 50,000 people from the Medicaid program if they can't get more help from the feds. Chris Cahoon takes a look at what those cuts will mean to those who depend on that program.
The plan to put the Medicaid program on the chopping block would hurt those who need it the most. The state health department estimates that 800 nursing home patients will be forced to leave their homes. More than 35,000 aged, blind, and disabled would lose all their medical benefits. And 12,000 children from low-income families will no longer get free hospital care.
Lynn Shore's Manor here in Virginia Beach is just one of several nursing homes in Tidewater that will bear the brunt of the budget cuts. About 20% of the residents here will be forced to move out if the state plan goes through as expected next April.
What do you think?
Director William Keener is pushing hard to get the money back into Medicaid.
The patient, if they have an income of $500 or more, will have to be either discharged home or pay private rates because the Medicaid program will no longer provide assistance for these people.
Happy Harrow is one of those people who will be forced to leave. At age 77, Happy has suffered a stroke has had a leg amputated and suffers from kidney problems. And his sister can't support him.
I couldn't do much else except stay here because of the fact that I'm a little too old to start something new.
In Virginia Beach, Chris Cahoon, the Daily News.
About 30 janitorial workers at the Naval Supply Center walked off the job today and took up picket signs. They work for a firm called World's Best Janitorial Service. They say every pay period for the past 2 years, somebody's paycheck has bounced. Sometimes they all bounce. This time they say they haven't been paid for 6 weeks. World's Best has no comment, but the Navy's been urging the Department of Labor not to renew the contract with the firm. More on the story tonight at 11. Coming up, when Don said it was going to be windy today, he wasn't kidding.
He'll tell us what Friday will be like next. Tonight, in part 4 of her series on how to kick the nicotine habit, Penny Williams tells us just how rough those first few days are when you're trying to give up cigarettes. She also has some tips on how to remain a non-smoker.
I'm irritable, but I am going to learn to cope with it.
Barbara McGronin had quit smoking. For her, the hard part was fear of the unknown.
Now I know what to expect from myself, and I can deal with it psychologically on a better level.
Quitting's not easy, I can tell you that. But I decided a few days before this session I'd had enough of cigarettes, so I took some final steps to kick the habit as well. I went through the house over the weekend, picked up all the ashtrays, and put them away forever. Then I threw out my last pack of cigarettes. Smoking may have had its rewards, but quitting offers more. First, there's lots of group support.
Congratulations, you get $1 and your I quit button. Wear it proudly.
Oh, thanks. And what kept me going through those first few days?
I've taken some deep breaths. That's helped. And I've eaten a mint. I have my sugarless mints here.
This audio program shows you how to gain new relaxation skills which can help you stay free from cigarettes.
The deep breathing exercises really helped a lot of us in the group. One thing our instructor said to remember, the urge for a cigarette goes away. It really does. If you can do something else for just those few minutes to satisfy that craving, you've got a major part of the problem licked. For me, there have been some rough moments, especially at work. But I've learned to nibble on my steady supply of carrots whenever the pressures get too high. The orange snacks taste better than any cigarette, and my eyes have never been better. Tomorrow, we'll take a look at some other methods that may or may not help you kick the habit.
So, what do you think?
Penny Williams, The Daily News.
How long do we have to put up with this kind of weather?
Through tomorrow night, by the looks of things. It looks like our wind is going to hold up for a while. In fact, tonight there are small craft advisories out. We've got gale warnings out from Virginia Beach southward to Cape Hatteras. So some real big winds. We'll tell you more about that later on our forecast. Here's a look at seas a little bit earlier on today across the harbor. Partly cloudy skies, 48 degrees right now. 54% for the relative humidity. Strong northeasterly winds, 21 to 28 miles an hour. In the open water, of course, they're even higher. Barometric pressure is rising, 30.22. Low last night, 45. High for this afternoon, only 51 degrees. Sea temperature is at 58 degrees as of this time. Quick look at the radar. Ground clutter, who cares about that? So we'll move on. Okay, a quick look at temperatures, mostly in the upper 40s and the low 50s. 52 is a warm spot right now, and that is in Elizabeth City. But skies are cloudy over Tidewater, but then the farther west you go, the clearer it gets. Let's have a look at it on the satellite. We can see that through our area, well, first of all, you see that big storm off the Pacific, and that H there and an L there. There's a high pressure rotating clockwise there, low pressure rotating counterclockwise. So between the two, we're getting cloudiness generally right over the coastal areas, and then clearing off the farther westward we go. Let's go back to the national map and have a look at things. Now, again, you saw that big storm across the Pacific Northwest. Some fairly heavy rain, big winds, and the tides are way, way up because of those big winds across here. Midsection of the United States, real nice and warm. This high pressure rotating clockwise, and it's giving folks temperatures in the 60s. In northern Minnesota, where normally they're only in the 20s. Now, our weather. And we've got a lot of it, and it looks like it's going to continue. We've got high pressure that's dominating, and this high pressure is centered just north of New York, and it's rotating clockwise. This low pressure is rotating counterclockwise. So between the two of them, we're kind of between a rock and a hard place because we're getting real strong north to northeasterly winds. Now, with all of that strong wind moving across over the open water, the waves are kind of piling up, one on top of each other, and we've got abnormally high tides. And that's a big part of our forecast for tonight, the wind, and it's creating some abnormally high tides. Let's go to our forecast, see what we've got. For tonight, variable cloudiness. It's also bringing in a lot of cloudiness and windy conditions. Small craft advisories in effect, gale warnings in effect for the North Carolina coastal waters. Low tonight, cool 40 to 45, northerly winds 15 to 25 for tonight. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, high only 50 to 55, 38 to 42 the low tomorrow night. Northeast winds continuing for early tomorrow at 15 to 25 miles an hour. So still really kind of windy for tonight and tomorrow. Partly cloudy for Saturday, maybe a couple of degrees warmer. Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, we'll kind of don't hold your breath on it, but we may see 60 degrees. Sunrise, sunset, and note that we've got an asterisk beside the high tide because of all the abnormally high tides. We may see some coastal flooding at the two next high tides, 9:30 tonight and around 10 to 10 tomorrow morning. So coastal residents, watch out for that.
Okay, thanks, Don. Bob?
The American League Manager of the Year in our final high school football poll. Bruce in the sports coming up. Another baseball award, and this one goes to Oakland.
Hey, the Oakland A's organization has come a long way in the past couple of years, and I guess this proves there must be something to Billy Ball after all. Because for the second year in a row, the famed practitioner of that kind of baseball, bristling Billy Martin of the Oakland A's, has been voted Manager of the Year in the American League. Martin drove his team to the Western Division title in the first half of the season. That put the A's into the playoffs. Then, after brushing aside the Kansas City Royals in the opening round of the playoffs, well, the Yankees brushed the A's aside, as the umpire did to Billy. But don't forget, the A's will be back Billy Martin Manager of the Year for 1981. Staying with baseball, no new signings today as we approach tomorrow's free agent draft. Big names on the list include Reggie Jackson, Ron Guidry, Dave Collins, and Reggie Smith will all be up for grabs tomorrow. For the past several years, and most recently every Thursday since September, we've presented our high school football top 10. Now that the regular season is over, we will present tonight our final top 10. The number one team, regardless of how they do in the playoffs, will be presented with our TV 10 trophy given to the top team each year. And here's the trophy. Okay, so you can see it. Last year, Hampton High School won the trophy. Then they won the state championship 4 weeks later. They haven't lost since. So, like Billy Martin, for the second straight year, Hampton High School, the number one team in Tidewater, and they get the trophy again. First Colonial has been number 2 since they tied Kempsville. They stay second, go to the playoffs where they share the beach title with number 3 Kempsville, a very fine team. It's just a shame they can't go to the playoffs as well. Tab High School finishes 4th. They are a AA school, but finished the year undefeated. Wilson 7-2. They finished 3rd last year. 5th this year. Princess Anne is 6th. Then Kickingham, Churchland, Granby, and a tie for 10th between Great Bridge, number 2 last season, and Bethel, number 4 last season. And that's it for 1981. Except for the playoffs, of course. They begin tomorrow. Last night, we previewed the Granby-Hampton game. Tonight, Mike Springerth looks at tomorrow night's contest between First Colonial and Wilson.
In there. First Colonial High School.
That's how First Colonial got to these playoffs. They tied Kempsville for the beach title, so a draw determined the winner.
We're pleased that we were selected. We weren't happy that it had to be decided by a draw like it was, but for us it came out well.
But First Colonial also earned its way to the playoffs. They finished with 9 wins, no losses, and a tie. That tied at Kempsville, and have one of the most explosive offenses in the Tidewater area. The Patriots' big threat in their wishbone offense is Darrell Brown. Brown had 1,000 yards rushing and 19 touchdowns.
When you look at it, you got to play the best from whichever district you play.
But First Colonial will find they're going tough against the Wilson Presidents tomorrow night. The Presidents have one of the very best defenses in the area. They allow just 115 yards and 5 points a game. On offense, Wilson's passing game is strong. Quarterback Johnny Ely threw 11 touchdowns this year. But during the last part of the season, Wilson has struggled, losing 2 of their last 3 games.
I guess you could say it might have been a little lost incentive. But I'm not concerned because I feel that these kids are pulled together enough. And, we've come too far, just to feel like we're going to hang up our equipment there. And many people don't realize it, but we're an inexperienced team. I just thank God we've come this far.
Mike Springerth, The Daily News.
And, of course, we'll have tape highlights of both games tomorrow night at 11. NBA last night, the Philadelphia 76ers crushed the Chicago Bulls 117-90. Let's go to the videotape. One bright spot for the Bulls, and the red rookie Orlando Woolridge from Notre Dame gets the pass on the jam, got the foul. But the rest of the night was all 76ers. Dr. J, 21 points. Then he comes back and does it again. Looks like a replay, doesn't, but they were 2 different shots. But the Bulls could only count on the newly signed Woolridge. Here, look at Woolridge again. He hasn't even been to practice yet. Just signed his contract. He's only a rookie. But Philly just a little too tough. Watch this play. Bobby Jones, is that a hook or not? Come on, Bobby. I guess that was a pass. 76ers beat Chicago 117-90. And pitcher Fernando Valenzuela of the Dodgers will ask for $1 million next season to play for L.A. He only got $42,000 this year, but made $500,000 with T-shirts and other promotional things.
Good news for Yorktown coming up. The Yorktown Bicentennial brought not only the presidents of the United States and France to our area, but lots and lots of tourist money, too. October was a banner month for tourism in the Williamsburg area. Hotels and motels were busier than they had ever been in the past 5 years. Ticket and retail sales in the area were also way up. That's the Daily News for right now. Tonight at 11 o'clock, we'll continue our series on incest.
And coming up next, the NBC Nightly News with John Chancellor in New York.
All right, they'll have more on the short mission of the space shuttle.
Good night.